So the last question is that what prevents the current defense MRO from being flexible and adaptable to rapid technological change happening in industry? What policy and functional changes are recommended? Over here, I'll first request General Anil Kapoor to answer because he's got another appointment which he has to rush to. He just gave me a call. So Anil, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I think let me clarify one thing very, very aptly. And I'd like to say firstly that it is our mindsets, the 6-inch space here, which actually sometimes restrains us from doing or not doing something. So what I'm trying to hit at is that if we have to look at a flexible and an adaptable system, the first change is change our mindsets. Second is give the MRO its rightful place. I think that is very important. We need to bring in a lot of, if I may say, EME into Army Design Bureau. It is not a general carded domain unless he's technically proficient, because otherwise, a lot of good work gets denigrated. I think we need to build in a lot of subject matter experts there, especially with technology. And I think we need to change the way we look at technology. We have to bring in high-tech people. We have to get into our specialization in a very, very big way. We have to get out of our generalization and we have to get into a lot of specialization. And since now we are becoming indigenizing in a big way, Indian defense industry is coming in a big way, a lot of Indian equipment is going to get inducted. We need to look at getting OEM involved at D level, getting OEM involved for just-in-case spares, and we need to get into just-in-time. Let him manage that show for us. We need to build a lot of synergies, and we should become hardcore technical guys right till the edge to be able to do stuff to ensure a high combat force regeneration. This is my view and my take on making it adaptive. And I think we need to organize ourselves well for it. As of now, we are not organized, and I'll agree with General N.B. Singh when he says that we shouldn't build ad hocism for sure. I totally agree with him that when it becomes ad hoc, it loses the sense of balance, and you can't do it for every equipment as well. That is also point is well taken. But I think if we did an honest appreciation, we will find quite a few things could have been done forward, which will also face, since your point is also cost effective, the downtimes of transportation of equipment, the downtimes of the equipment, even under repair at other places where you collect a large number of equipment. I think we may get over that. So it's an interesting exercise, and maybe YVR and me in Strat MRO, we can put up discuss a paper on this as to how do we fix this. I think there is a good way forward as we look into the future in looking at all the, should I say, pillars of sustainment, including infrastructure. I think we need to upgrade, modernize, get mobile infra, get into all this. And I'm sure if you look at the CV Street today, there are a lot of mobile workshops and all created by Honda Cities and others. And I think we also have our ARVs and ARRVs, but I mean, there is a lot more that needs to be done. Let me put it this way. It will help us. We need to build, our supply chains need to be more resilient. Let's bring in, these UAVs to supply just in time, UAVs for carrying out recce, and all this. I think if we look at the technology landscape, the more I think about it, the more I think a lot can be done to make things easier, especially with the unmanned space, because manned space today is becoming, it gets hit the most, let me put it, and it hurts the most. Whereas the unmanned space, even if it is hit, it is only financial, at least human lives are saved. And Armenia-Azerbaijan war is a great example where we've seen this happen. So I think if we put all in all a very well thought through focus on MRO, tech, combat force regeneration, we will make a huge difference in times to come in our operational visage.
So thank you very much, Anil, for that. Now the same question, I'll request Brig Vijay for his response. Vijay, please.
Yes.
So if we look at what are the challenges and weaknesses that we have in our current MRO, the first is due to financial constraints, etc. Our fleet is generally old. The average age of our fleet is 20 years plus, 20 to 40, 50 years. So these platforms require frequent maintenance, more replacement of aging components. There's a limited availability of spare parts. Next is there's a heavy dependence on foreign suppliers. The Indian Army's reliance on foreign suppliers is a very critical weakness today for spare parts, for advanced technology. There is talk nowadays of Make in India, strategic partnership, public-private partnership, etc. But we still have very limited indigenous manufacturing. Then we have infrastructure constraints. So we have to modernize and improve our basic MRO infrastructure. There's a heavy amount of investment required in our base workshops to modernize it to the latest equipment. There are logistical challenges. Now, just now there was a discussion, that the field workshop should do A, B, C jobs instead of only one level of jobs. That has a massive supply chain challenge. Then the integration of technology. We need to slowly start integrating the latest of technologies into our MRO. Another challenge and a massive weakness is the lack of coordination and communication between the stakeholders. You have the inventory management, which is totally dissociated from the MRO, the maintenance and repair organization. Your linkages with the public sector is weak. Your linkages with private industry is weak. Your linkages with R&D is weak. So that needs to be strengthened. We have to get into joint R&D. The MRO provider has to be involved in R&D. So if we address these weaknesses, I'm sure our MRO can come up quite well to handle this new technology that's coming in. I think in a nutshell, that's what I have to contribute on this, sir.
Well, thank you very much for that, sir. NB sir, now this is again, I'll just say the question once again, and then I'll request you to give your response and also sum up today's discussion. So I'll say the question again, sir. What prevents current defense MRO from being flexible and adaptable to rapid technology, rather rapid technological change happening in industry? What policy and functional changes are recommended? NB sir?
Yeah, I'll start off by not exactly blaming, but putting the responsibility of all this, this kind of lack of flexibility and adaptability, etc., and absence of modernization in the military MRO, especially the Army's MRO setup. I think the responsibility has to be taken by maintainers, because we as maintainers have never ever taken an operational view of our activities. We all know what happens in a field workshop, what happens in a base workshop. Our activity was just taken as a kind of a tinkering activity of a faulty system. Something comes there, you set it right, and it goes away. We were at least in wherever I have served, I found that there was an undue focus on repair and return of B vehicles. So that was the kind of environment which was prevailing in most of the field level workshops. And that is the reason why a kind of a mindset has developed, has been incubated in the policymakers, that there is nothing operational about the work of EME. Now, going back, see, in World War II, Rommel had shown all of us how important spanner patrols were for sustaining the tempo of operations, what we now refer to as combat force regeneration. In 1973, Yom Kippur War, after the initial strategic surprise suffered by IDF, how did they, come back into that war? It's courtesy their maintainers. More than 300 tanks being repaired in situ, in the deserts of Sinai. So we have never taken an operational view of this, and that is the reason why we are in the state. So I think it's very important that a capability view of equipment is crucial. I don't think we have any any technical literature in our with us which defines equipment capability. So I feel that till the time we don't change our thinking, it's very difficult, for us to seek the kind of funding which is required to modernize MRO assets and all. So I think, if we had thought about this, and if we have convinced ourselves that operational and in-service engineering are two sides of the same coin, and if we had talked about it in various war games, in various, op discussions, we had brought this out, then possibly the other side would have also, the way they understand it in the Navy and Air Force, in Army also, they would have possibly understood the op relevance of the kind of the work we are doing. So I think it's very important for us to understand terms like equipment capability, mission capability, maintainer capability. What is maintainer capability? I mean, you have to understand. I mean, it's a set of industrial. It's a kind of a collection of industrial suites which are there in the form of those 6 levers of sustainment, which are mandatory to support any formation. And once we bring it out, then I'm sure the top brass will understand and provide you the resources. So I think, the difference between garage availability, the difference between pulse availability, all these things are things for us to, and we have got great opportunities to, to put across these things. I mean, if you see in all courses, there is a EN being run to be conveyed to the people there, because they are the persons who will be going up, and they must get a clear understanding of this life cycle concept of equipment capability, that capability once acquired will not remain that. It'll wither away with passage of time. And the problem for us will keep increasing, because now more and more COTS items are getting inducted in weapon platforms. You are seeing how, these are being integrated just because of to save cost. And the problem will become manifold, because today you are managing to resolve it through an AMC or things like that. What happens when the same problem comes during combat operations in theater? Whether the AMC guy will be having enough people to go to that location and carry out those repairs in situ. So these are things we have to understand. I squarely put the responsibility on the maintainers. I think we need to change our orientation and understanding. And once we do that and we talk about it, then the other guy will understand. So I think this is something which we have to drive home. Now, some of the policy changes which you are talking about, I will start off by, first of all, EME has to become a KBO, what is called as a knowledge-based organization. Then the second policy change which is required at the IHQ level is a separation of engineering and logistics sustainment. They must understand the difference between engineering sustainment and logistics sustainment. Today, both are combined, and therefore the focus is primarily on procurement. He's not so concerned about in-service engineering. Third, of course, is, as I said, since we have to take a systems view, so if we have to get onto this concept of life cycle capability readiness, which means from cradle to grave. And therefore here, the important thing is that when we acquire equipment, we cannot go in for unwarranted complexity, because we have to understand that our systems, our environment of operations is totally different from what is there in other countries. And the more complex our system will be, the more fault prone it will be, because that reliability how reliability reduces with more number of systems getting integrated. So the need is for more numbers of simpler systems which can be, repaired in situ. Then, of course, I've talked about empowerment of our technicians. Today there are certain things which in some of the systems these people are told that, okay, this the AMC guy will only handle. If you tinker with it, then the warranty goes off. Now, if you allow such a thing, what happens that in actual combat, how is he going to repair? So I feel, there is some synergy has to be brought in here, where our boys have to go and at least be a part of the repair process at the OEM's premises. If he's repairing certain things, our boy should go there so that he is in a position to take on these kind of repairs, at least in combat situations. Then we need to bring about an attitudinal change in the top brass, and that can only happen if we increase our interaction with the ops branch. That is very important. That you need to, and you have to find out ways and means. It can be done, but you've got to find ways and means of and telling them that how equipment capability will help him achieve the mission. As I said, the concept of life cycle capability readiness has to come in, and if we introduce this to the general staff and to everybody, I'm sure the budgeting will also. So the budgeting also will follow if we look into this concept. Then there should be periodical readiness reviews, I feel, in formations and even at the Army headquarters level in the Army Commanders Conference, where at least if not all, but some major weapon platforms need to be discussed, and solutions, that is the place where bigger solutions of technology insertion and capability enhancement programs, that, in principle, approval can be provided so that then things move. I will also recommend that this old age, the 40, 50-year-old, designation of vehicle off-road and equipment out of action should get replaced by terms, modern vocabularies like no capability readiness, partial capability readiness, and full capability readiness. Now, moment you see, if you designate 45 tanks in a regiment with this no capability readiness, and you can set out your, standards for that look, if this things are not working, we will call it NCR, partial and full. Now, as the report moves up the channel, people will understand that in a formation, 20%, 25% equipment is, or a major platform is non-mission capable. So then, people talk about it, people discuss what is the solution. Today, it's EOA, VOR, nobody's bothered. Then one of the very important things for which I have also, during my time, nearly convinced people, but somehow it didn't come through, is that the provisioning of spares, if not procurement, provisioning of spares must be done by maintainers. This is the standards everywhere. It is not, spares can't be provisioned the way you provision boots and OG socks. And it's as simple as that. If the medics can provision decide what medicines to buy, what other hospital requirements, medical requirements to indent, then it's very simple that the provisioning of spares need to come to the maintainers, because then we will be able to buy what is needed. Finally, I will recommend that, in all our learning institutions, it is time that MRO, the study of MRO as a subject, MRO is a subset of this whole, science of systems engineering. So a little bit of insight into systems engineering, followed by detailed insight into MRO, must form a part of most of our courses. We need to, and it should start at the degree level, because it can be given as a subject there, and you've got to find suitable balances as to what all to include, what to remove. But I think systems engineering as a subject has to now get find a place in our curriculum. And the importance of MRO, the importance of engineering vis-a-vis operations, all these things need to be drilled home at a very early stage so that officers are, empowered. They are full of knowledge when they leave this place and they get up and participate in all the discussions. That's how we can bring about this whole change in the attitude and orientation in the ops rooms of our formation. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us that very detailed views on very important aspects. With that, viewers, it now remains for me to thank the panelists for sharing their wisdom with us today. We look forward to bringing more such panel discussions to you from MRO Channel Forum. Thank you very much for tuning in and for listening, and Jai Hind.